Hey, this is Vu, and today I want to take a look at clutching. And to do so, I'm going to do a breakdown of Xyp9x's clutches against North. Now, he gets into 3 clutch scenarios here, and he only wins 1 of the 3. However, I think the way he plays all 3 is a great example of exactly how you should be trying to clutch, and I can try and use that to show exactly the things that you want to be thinking about and the way you can kind of think through to put yourself in winning scenarios in clutches. So the first round here, he's going to be with a deagle and body armor. This is kind of a work picks round here, and he's trying to get something done. He's going to find the quick entry on ramp, and none of this is very important in terms of how the clutch plays out, except for how this kind of sets up the map in his mind of where the opponents are at. His teammates here have gotten some information that the opponents are playing pretty heavily towards outer and fairly heavily towards upper. Probably as he's gotten that kill towards ramp and taken the free ramp control, they're playing 2 towards outer, potentially 1 hell, 1 garage that they've known, and 2 dedicated upper. So he probably has an idea that not too many people are going to be flanking there. He's not going to be expecting a triple flank because his opponents have already kind of shown themselves towards the other areas of the map. So his team has gotten control of lower here, and it turns into a 2 versus 4, and Magisk is going to go for the straight up bomb plan. So Magisk going for the bomb plan, sometimes it's a little bit YOLO. He does have information that probably the majority of the CT side is dedicated towards the upper side of the map. His team has spotted at least 3 of them, I think maybe all 4 of them, so he goes for the free bomb plan, and they're going to double up towards Squeaky here. I really like this idea as well. The idea here, by doubling up on this side, you're giving yourself the best ability to get trade kills and to ensure at least 1 kill if your opponent's heavily pushed towards you. And you can get the quick spray down if your opponents try and go with 2 or 3 players peeking towards you. You can get the kind of spray down with those deagles together. So Xyp9x, knowing that someone could be flanking, he knows he needs to get a little bit aggressive here. While you can play this angle and kind of double hold this doorway here with Magisk and potentially find some success, one of the things you don't want to be doing in any sort of low number scenario when you're outnumbered, especially when you have a pistol, is giving up the smoke diffuse. If you give up the smoke diffuse in a situation like this, and they know it's probably fairly likely that a smoke diffuse could come in because their opponents have 4 people alive, and they probably haven't seen too much utility out of them. Even if they had seen quite a bit of utility, unless you've counted out all 5 smokes, you have to worry about the smoke diffuse, and there's really very little you can do to stop the smoke diffuse when you only have pistols, even in a 1v1 or a 1v2, but especially when there's so many players alive, the counter-terror side can easily drop one on the diffuse, and you can't easily spray through that smoke because they have 3 people covering and preventing any real spray down through the smoke. So you want to try and get aggressive before that smoke can go down, and that's exactly what Xyp9x tries to do here, and he's going to be able to find the quick kill on it. After he finds that kill, he still wants to find a little bit of something, and he's going to peek around a little bit trying to find some information. Once his teammate gets pushed, he's kind of put in a very bad situation here. There's very little chance for him to win this one, but he does make the best of a bad scenario. He's been spotted towards the window, so what he does is he switches up his angle as fast as possible. Rather than playing the angle on his right here on this right side wall, where his opponent will likely swing around looking at that side, he goes to the opposite side, which means his opponent is more likely to swing around looking a little bit away from him. His opponent is going to go down to him, and now Xyp9x again changes angles, trying to find the next kill, which he somehow miraculously does as well. So a little bit of good gunplay here, a little bit of smart playing, a little bit of smart positioning to put himself in a scenario to potentially win this, and this is where kind of gameplay, game knowledge, and really just a feel for the game comes in. He hears his opponent rushing him. He knows he has 9 HP. He's very unlikely to take out an SMG. You can jump around the corner and get that 1 bullet off of him, potentially. And he knows that the bomb is starting to tick down. So rather than going for this frag, he just jumps out the window. He knows his opponent's there. He knows his opponent knows he's there. So he knows exactly the situation he's in, and he just tries to go and delay the bomb just a little bit more. Unfortunately, not going to be able to find that one. However, he did everything right there. He put himself in a situation to absolutely succeed, and he did everything he should be doing to potentially win a clutch situation. So I'm going to bring you into this clutch a little bit later here. This is going to be a 1 versus 3 in a second once Dupree dies. What you're going to know is that Xyp9x does have the idea or the knowledge here in a second that all 3 North members are towards the back halls there. Okay, now one of the things you need to realize when you're in a 1v3 like this, and you know all 3 of your opponents are in a certain location, Xyp9x knows that he could go back heaven or he could go back lobby and try and go upper. And thereby, of course, naturally, he knows his opponents know that. So by going silent for a second, there are 2 things that happen. First of all, his opponents have to reposition, and second of all, he loses a little bit of information on where his opponents are and where they could be. If he waits until 20 seconds left, it's possible that his opponents have flanked around and someone's ended up near hell or heaven, and they're more likely to flank around on him. However, if he waits longer, they have to split up a little bit more. They have to spread out, and he has more of a chance to get a free pick-off or to get a kill or something like that. So there's a little bit of a give and take when you're in a situation like this where you know your opponent's positioning. Now, his opponents knew he was in this general area about 10 seconds prior. However, he could have gone right back towards ramp, so they have to split up at least a little bit, and they're already kind of starting to do that here. So Xyp9x, probably knowing that they're starting to split up a little bit, and recognizing where all 3 players are, is just going to go for a bit of a YOLO play here. That's the way I see this specifically. I don't think this is a highly calculated out play where he knows that he's going to get this plan. He's kind of hoping that nobody's in that doorway. He's got the Molotov off on the other side, and he's hoping that they've spread out just enough that they're not sitting in that doorway waiting for him to start the plant, or if they are, that they're too worried about the fake plant. Because in a 3v1, the way I always look at it is that the first person to die is the guy that kind of loses the 3v1. Now, it's not necessarily true. You can always win a 2v1. Of course, you're in an advantage in a 2v1. However, a 3v1 in general, if played correctly, is very hard to lose if you play it together with your teammates. However, a 2v1 is certainly losable if your opponent plays very well, especially if he's got the bomb planted like this, which you can kind of think of as an extra member. So people are a little bit less likely to go for that overpeek from the doorway, worrying about turning it into a 2v1 and just throwing away the round. So he kind of just YOLOs it out, hopes that nobody peeks, and he gets lucky that nobody does peek. So again, he has a decent idea that probably nobody's flanking, although he can't be sure. In these sorts of situations, you do actually need to gamble at least a little bit. He's thinking they were all 3 towards the back vent lower area. They probably went up the vents to watch towards upper, but unlikely they pushed through lobby because it could have potentially opened up a one-on-one scenario. If Xyp9x had gone back through ramp towards lobby, he could have ended up getting a straight-up gunfight against that player. There's a whole nother level to that where maybe that gunfight wouldn't be that bad because it would allow a rotate, whatever, whatnot. However, regardless, it's not highly likely that his opponents have gone around to flank, so he probably has the ability to kind of just hold an angle and try and find a kill. Now, what he's done towards this doorway here is very smart and really underrated to some extent. What he's done is he's put himself in a position to find an entry on the player that he's looking at right here in this doorway and instantly swing on the doorway to his left. So what he's doing is he's trying to catch multiple players off guard in quick succession. Because if he finds the 1 kill, turns into a 2-on-1, and his opponents know exactly where he is, assuming here he doesn't know his opponents all have low HP except for Nico, he has to expect that if 2 players can kind of focus in on him in a single location, he's probably not going to win that round. High-level players, good aim, good teamwork, should be able to take down a 2v1 when you know where your opponent is. So what he probably wants to do here is to potentially find the kill on a guy coming out of this doorway that he's looking at, and quick swing on the doorway to the left to catch them off guard before they can really mentally recognize that's where he is, and start to isolate and focus down on him. So it doesn't look like that much. However, getting close to that doorway, I think, is an intentional idea that you want to get the first kill and quick swing on the second player to find that kill potentially if all things line up. You know, you're not always going to quick swing there. You're not always going to find the kill right away. It also does give him a little bit of a getaway if he sees two players coming out that door for whatever reason, which probably wouldn't be a great idea. He can kind of reposition or go into the other side if he wants as well. So what's actually going to happen here is all three players from north are going to come around the left side door. The door opens. He goes for the quick swing. This is kind of a natural thing. You can recognize why he did that for yourself. He hears the door open. He wants to catch them off guard before they can swing out, because when these players come out here, they're probably going to swing and look left, and you can't just let your opponents peek out on you like that. They're just going to trade on you with three players alive. If they have all three in there, they're just going to get that trade on you no matter what. So quick swinging out and getting the spray down, potentially killing two players there, and the third player's coming from ramp, or not ramp, because he was exposed to ramp, but coming from the other door, or maybe the third player is a little bit delayed, or maybe he just misses the op shot, anything like that, and he ends up with a round win there potentially. So it's definitely something to think about. He positioned himself to try and catch two players off guard quickly in succession rather than just one, as he's in a 1v3. If he's in a 1v2, he might have played a little bit differently, although I think that's a pretty solid way to play it in most rounds. You can find in a 1v2 one kill and then go hiding, or you can have your second player kind of have an idea where you are, and you're not going to get traded out on quite as easily as in a 1v3 where you find one kill and those two players can probably find that kill back onto you. Okay, so for round number 7, this is actually the round that Xyp9x does win, and I'm going to look a little bit further back in this round here. It's a 4v4. Xyp9x gets a quick couple kills there towards Secret, and Xyp9x is going to spot Valdea. Now, it's possible either way. Xyp9x could have known that that was a different player because he had a CZ. Maybe he has a different model. Any number of things could have kind of given him the idea that it was a second player there. Maybe his teammates heard some footsteps. Maybe he didn't know it was a second player. Maybe he thought it was KRB still. So he either has info that there's two players towards Secret or info that there's one. His teammate has info that really nobody's towards Mini here in a second, and nobody's towards lobby, which kind of suggests, based on the fact that they do have bomb control here on Xyp9x, that his opponents have to be split in some sort of 2-2 situation. If they have one Secret, they probably need to have one towards lower, because his teammate could just be lurking through ramp, so they either have a guy towards ramp or a guy towards lower. And that means they probably have two towards upper. This is something that they should be able to kind of figure out on their own. A 2-2 split is kind of standard. You can't assume that it's only going to be a 2-2 split, but they can assume that they have a decent ability to walk into the upper bomb site and not see four players there kind of staring at their situation. And especially since Xyp9x has now not been spotted, what Magisk and Xyp9x do here is by walking out Squeaky and walking in Mini at the same time, they're actually kind of grouping up here. You're going in through different areas, but you are getting together a little bit to make sure that a trade is theoretically possible in a lot of these situations. And so a trade is actually going to come out here. Magisk is going to look down, grab that kill on AZ, going to get traded, and Xyp9x finds the kill onto Nico. Now here comes the idea that it was probably a 2-2 split. Xyp9x, the 2-2 split was less relevant as they walked into upper, but more relevant now that nobody's in upper, so probably they're going to take a second to rotate. They're probably going to be coming from the lower bomb site, so he has a little bit of time to go for that bomb plant, as long as they don't quick rotate up vents, which is what that Molotov was for. So he's going to find the Molotov kill down there, or the Molotov drop down there, and get the free bomb plant, and now he's going to walk out of the site because, to his knowledge, he probably has time. This is another thing that's kind of game sense oriented. Do you have time to walk out of the bomb site, or do you have to quick hide behind the silos? Do you have to quick make your way into hut? Give away your location to a certain extent, but you need to get out as fast as possible. A little bit of game sense here from Xyp9x. He thinks he has time, and he actually does have time based on how long he would expect rotations to take. Maybe he expects one player to be sitting in vents behind that Molotov potentially, and thereby he has a little bit of time before that Molotov goes out. There's plenty of things that could have gone into that. But knowing that two players are probably rotating from lower, he knows he probably has some time, and more likely than not, if they have a player in vents or mini, they will hear him if he tries to run out of sight and put him in a very bad situation. So as I mentioned in the 1v3, with the 1v3, he wanted to be able to catch two players off guard there if at all possible, because you can't really sit in a 1v2 where your opponents know where you are and still win. However, in a 1v2, you can play a little bit more passively and try and find the one quick entry and swing on the second player, or allow the round to play out in a 1v1 where they kind of have an idea where you are. Although it's not preferable, it's definitely possible. So the idea with vents, you catch the guy quickly as he comes out of heaven, and if the guy's walking in mini at the same time, you can get the angle on that mini player and kind of prevent him from finding that free kill by quick peeking out, by swinging wide, by doing plenty of different things to try and deal with that mini player, as a heaven and mini split is fairly common, as well as a lobby and mini split is fairly common as well, which is exactly what North is going to do here. So Xyp9x starts to look towards hut rather than heaven. I guess he has an idea that potentially if players were going to come out of heaven, they might have come out earlier. I'm not exactly sure what has given him the idea to look directly at hut instead of towards heaven. However, again, game sense, something I'm not seeing here probably. He's going to get actually blind by this flash, so he knows one is coming in mini. He still expects one towards hut or lobby, so he's going to find that kill, and now he's in a great situation to try and win the round, especially because Valde has been shooting his op. I'm not sure where he was shooting or what he was shooting through. Now Xyp9x knows his opponent is coming in mini, and he's coming in mini with an op. So it comes into play exactly what I mentioned earlier. He's in an angle with a little bit of playability. His opponent's coming in through mini, he can quick peek out on him, try and draw out that op shot, and that's exactly what he's going to do here. Rather than reloading, again, game sense, he knows he doesn't have time to reload, he's going to try and quick peek out with that CZ, close range. Valde misses the shot, and instantly Xyp9x goes for the kill and finds that round win. So you're going to see in this 3-round clutch streak there of Xyp9x, well, they weren't in a row. It was round 3, 5, and 7 where he went for those clutches. He deployed a wide range of kind of tactics, from game sense in general, knowing certain timings, knowing certain things you need to be doing about positioning, timing, and a little bit of mind games, especially when you delay a little bit, as he did it lower. You can play into a lot of things here that allows him to be so good with these clutches, but hopefully this gives an example of a few of the things that Xyp9x does extremely well in clutches that you can kind of pick up for your own game. So anyways, thanks for watching, and I hope this helped.